Although I do believe that some of the funny stuff is spoken about off camera. Whatever. This is philosophy, philosophy class number 6. And so I'm sorry if I got the last video up a little late. I actually downloaded it to YouTube. It was actually on YouTube. I was looking at it, saying to myself, why are there so few people watching this one? Did I offend them in the last one? And then I get an email. Who emailed me? Saying, are you gonna upload the link? And I went, I didn't do that. I was like, I didn't do it. And so I did. I put it there. So, was it you who did that? No, okay. Well, do me a favor. If you notice that they're not up within 2 days, which 2 days is late. I'm trying to get them up, start loading them as soon as I get home. Okay? Let me know. Say, where's that video? Because the content of the class is always recorded. Even if you're here, come on in. And the content of the course is always here. On there, so you can, and the assignments are on there. So if you're not in class, you have to watch the video to see the assignment, which is given. It could be anywhere in the video. It could be in the beginning. It could be at the end. What I will tell you though, here, I'm going to put you in a little secret. Any writing assignment is going to go like this. They're the bullet points. So who, what, where, why, when. Okay? Of the assigned reading. The assigned reading we've had thus far is Euthyphro. And the last one, and what? Meno, because you watched the video. She knows because you watched the video. And if you watch the video, you know that I assigned Meno as the next reading assignment. So what I want to know before we discuss it is, who's Meno, who's talking, who are the characters, what are they talking about, right? Why are they saying this? Why are they in that situation, right? How do they talk? How, what, all that stuff. What could also be, what form of literature is this? It's dialogue, okay? That could be a test question. What genre of literature did Plato write in? Dialogue, okay? The most important question out of all of the who, what, where, why, when, and how, and all that stuff is, why is this important? What is important, and why is it important to us today? Why are we reading this? Why should I care about what these people thought? Why does anybody read Plato at all? Why is this particular thing called the Meno important to me? Does that make sense to you? Some of these people, like I listen to certain politicians and I listen to certain people out there saying there are classes out there that are worthless, and the first one they'll go to is philosophy. And by doing so, they are actually making a very philosophical statement about value. The value of certain classes. But value is under what branch of philosophy? Value theory.
Ethics?
Yes. Ethics has to do with the good, the true and the beautiful. The true actually has to do with epistemology. Those are the transcendentals. The good, the true, and the beautiful. I heard during the the Republican primary, one of the candidates slammed philosophy pretty hard, right? And then people took a little offense to that, and they said, well, why don't you read some of this? And he actually read some philosophy, and he came back and he said, all right, I take that back, I'm sorry. Because he learned the value of philosophy. It's especially funny, though, because he was making a value statement about philosophy, which means he was doing philosophy. He's doing bad philosophy. All right. I want you to know why this is important. That's my goal. Okay. You with me? This is very important. Because this class doesn't teach you what to think, although I will try to convince you of my ideas, I promise you I will. That's because I'm biased, and every professor is what? Biased. Beware the sound of one hand clapping. There's one side, then there's another one. If you only hear one side, the professor has left out the other side. Often the professor will give one big hand and a small hand. Okay?
But just clap with one hand.
Sure, you could do that, but the point is, it's your own sound.
How did you learn to do that?
It's just,
I had a teacher in the 6th grade that could one hand clap, and he taught the entire class how to do it.
Oh my gosh.
and that is testable, since it's on the video. Point B, value of that. Okay, so anyway, here we go. I want to remind you, I'm going to try to convince you of certain things. Clearly, we're at a Christian university, okay? The belief in God is probably not just going to be assumed, it's going to be argued for here, okay? So that's valuable to us, okay? That is a foundational belief that you will take with you, and you will determine certain other questions like how should we then live, how you vote, how you raise your children, right? How you try to raise other people's children through just influence, right? You're gonna try to influence others, right? So we want to teach you how to think about things, not necessarily what to think about things, and that's what philosophy will do for you. How to think. How to think. Okay? I had no buddy used to teach me biblical studies, because he was a biblical studies major before I was, and he didn't just tell me the answer that I wanted to hear about the Bible. He said, and we're in Hawaii at the time, like, "Hey dude, how you doing?" And that's how he talks. His name's James. "Shannon, how you doing, dude? Want to go surf?" "Yeah, I do." "All right." And then we'd go surf, and then we'd have some biblical conversation. Yeah, I'd ask him some questions, and he'd be like, "Well, dude, when we get back, let's go to the Bible, and I'll show you, dude." And he was a Greek. He specialized in Greek and stuff, so we got to break out the Greek text, and he was all excited when I, went and started taking Greek and stuff in seminary, and, was reading, scripture in the original language, and I was all stoked, and so we became Greek buds, and we'd study together. And the point was, he taught me how to find the answer, not just giving me the answer. Does that make sense? So philosophy is going to do that for you, and that's kind of our goal. And that's why when I say any assignment here is going to ask you those questions, but the biggest question at the end of the day is, why is this important? Figure it out, and don't just spit it out like it's something shallow, because then you didn't get it. Because this stuff is deep. This stuff should be like really deep stuff. Stuff you'd be like, "Oh, I never thought about that before." And this is a lot of that stuff going on. Okay? Now, I know where we left off in the last video. I want to see if you guys, who here besides you who was present for the class, knows where I left off. Were you here for the last class, or did you actually get it from the video?
Video.
Good, you're awesome. Let's hear it.
The 3 theories of truth, was it?
Yeah, the 3, yes. By the way, give it a thumbs up when you watch the video, okay? Helps my algorithms. Wouldn't it be cool if I totally became a YouTube sensation over this thing? COVID made Dr. Holzer, the masked philosopher, famous. Nobody's seen his face. He's just this, Well, anyway, 3 theories of truth. What are they? Well, I gave you 3. I didn't tell you what they were, right? What field of study are we talking about right now? Just for viewership, who's anybody who watches this didn't watch the other ones? Epistemology. And what are we trying to answer here? What is knowledge? And we said knowledge is justified true belief, or, by the way, that's debatable. Test question here. Okay? I would say something like, what is the traditional definition of knowledge? And the traditional definition of knowledge is justified true belief. Some believe it's warranted true belief. And we'll talk a little bit about warrant later, but right now we're talking about justified true belief. And so we asked the question, what is truth? And we talked about 3 types of truth. The first type of truth is, we'll call it the coherence theory of truth. The second view is the correspondence theory of truth. And the third view is the pragmatic theory of truth. I start with coherence theory of truth because I don't like it. I end with the pragmatic theory of truth because there's value to it, but I disagree with it. Okay? So let's start with coherence theory of truth. The coherence theory of truth says a statement is true if it is supported by other beliefs, or if it coheres with other beliefs, other beliefs, that is. And there are no internal logical contradictions. You want me to repeat that?
Yes, please.
So the coherence theory of truth says that a statement, a proposition is true. Remember, a proposition is a statement that's either true or false. Okay? So it says that a statement is true if it coheres with one's beliefs, other beliefs, right? And there are no internal logical contradictions. That is, you have belief A that supports belief B that supports belief C, right? I believe this. Why? Because I believe this. Why? Because I believe this, okay? And they all make sense to each other. You don't believe that A is non-A. The wall is the non-wall, okay? Or the wall is white and non-white. You can believe that the wall is white and blue. That's fine. I believe the wall is white and I believe the wall is blue. Those aren't contradictory, because you could have a blue and white wall, okay? But you can't say I believe the wall is white and the wall is non-white, okay? It's a law of non-contradiction. A cannot be non-A, all right? So in the coherence theory of truth, it says a belief is true as long as your beliefs support that proposition, and that there's no internal contradictions that would falsify it. Now, what makes it true is that the beliefs cohere with one another. And that's valuable. You want all your other beliefs to support your conclusions. Would you agree? Now, sir, what am I your name?
Drew.
Ma'am?
Evie.
Evie. Drew and Evie. Drew has a set of beliefs. Drew has belief A to Z that support a proposition 1, whatever that proposition may be. Evie has a set of beliefs, A prime to Z prime, just showing that they're different beliefs, that support the proposition non-1. This is proposition 1, and her beliefs all support proposition non-1. Let's just take the wall is white to be non-controversial. I'd usually say God exists, but then one of you two might be like, I'm not going to say non-God. So, but that to me is an important proposition. God exists, because it's either true or false, right? And I believe it's to be true. And we can know this proposition to be true. So he has 1 and you have non-1. And all of your beliefs cohere with one another. They make sense, right? They make sense and they support the belief that 1. And your beliefs all make sense and they cohere and they're not internally contradicting with one another. And they have the answer to the proposition as non-1. The wall is non-white. Which one has the truth?
We don't know.
No. According to the coherence theory of truth, you both do. Because truth is about you and your beliefs. Okay? And that's why you have listen to this and you'll hear it. You'll hear people say it. If you haven't heard it yet, have you ever shared the gospel? Many times. So somebody in here said they're going to go on a mission trip. Not just go on a mission trip, be a missionary doctor. Was that you?
Well, a doctor.
A physician.
Yeah.
And you were going to be a missionary, you're going to be a plastic surgeon.
Yeah.
And you emailed me. And I did not get back with, you're not going to be a plastic surgeon?
Yeah, hopefully. I'm going
You didn't email me about my buddy who's the plastic surgeon then?
No.
Somebody else in here did. Oh, I know who it was, but he wasn't a plastic surgeon. Anyway. Okay, that's fine. I'm all confused. It happened. I got the email to prove it, I think. I could be hallucinating. Okay. Point being, you're going to hear it. And you often hear it if you're sharing the gospel. It may be true for you, but it's not true for me. As though you could believe your truths and it's true for you, the wall is white, and it may be true for you, the wall is non-white. There are two truths. Have you heard that before? Anybody? Has anybody in here said it? I bet somebody in here has said it. Well, it may be true for you, but not for me. Nobody's heard this?
I've heard it.
I've heard it. But I'm not in that.
I've heard it, but I've never said it. So it's like a dirty word, right? What? Mode?
I've heard it.
Yeah. Well, it's this view that truth has to do with belief, not with reality. That the truth is about you, it's subjective. This is a coherence theory of truth. My philosophy is not free. I don't want people like peeping in and like, listening to stealing philosophy from me. And that's a joke, of course. A bad one, but it's a joke. Gotta tell some bad ones so that when the good ones hit, it surprises them.
Everyone starts laughing.
Yeah, that's right. So it's a goal. Anyway, is this a good theory of truth? I mean, it's kind of condescending in my opinion. So in historical eras, you have like the classical era, the medieval era, then you had the modern times, and then after modernity, we had what's called post-modernity, okay? And post-modernism is kind of an anti-philosophical philosophy. And that's something that the Christian church has been really wrestling with, because in post-modernism, they deny certain philosophical realities, such as essences, which we'll talk about, okay? And they embrace coherentism, which is this view of truth, that truth is nothing more than a set of beliefs that support other beliefs. And you may have beliefs that support your conclusions, and you have yours that support your conclusions. And there is more than one truth, because truth is located either in the community of language, right, the linguistic community, or the individual in their beliefs, in their own language, so to speak, right? Truth is relative. So Jesus is Lord, and Jesus is not Lord, though contradictory statements can be held by two different people and both be true. That God can exist and God cannot exist, those statements can be both be true from the coherentist point of view. Because Richard Dawkins, the atheist, right, he has a set of beliefs that support his conclusion that God does not exist. And it's true for him. And then Shannon Holzer, that being me, has another set of beliefs that support the view that God exists. And he's revealed himself to us through his son, Jesus Christ, and that we can know him. They're all consistent and coherent. And thus it'd be true for me, right? Does that satisfy you?
No.
He says, no. Why not?
We had an entire discussion about how just because you believe something, it doesn't make it true. So
Right.
this truth is
Yeah, we've already
False.
discussed it. There's my bias. We've already had this discussion, undercutting what we're talking
Oh,
about
so
now.
you're saying that you are wrong.
I'm saying
and
I
that
can be
the
wrong.
wall is white.
Oh, shut your mouth. That wall is not white.
It's not.
Mm-mm.
See that over there? It's white right there. Do you see it?
Oh boy.
The whole wall.
The wall is not non-white.
Oh.
And the wall is not non-mauve, whatever this color is.
So we're both right.
Not
No.
necessarily.
But not
But-
necessarily.
Let's get back to this. You're not satisfied with it, but right.
I don't like it.
Why don't you like it?
It takes away from the meaning of truth.
What's the
To
meaning?
me.
To me,
Fact.
fact.
Truth is fact.
What is a fact?
Should be something that can be
And
correct.
see, going again. Now you're just supporting it with your belief.
That is
something
true. So that would be.
But don't get me wrong. Look, our beliefs should cohere with one another.
Yes.
In fact, if they don't, that's evidence that that our belief is false, or that something's false. That the belief in conflict is false, perhaps. But if the goal of epistemology is to gain truth and avoid falsehood, we want something more than just a bunch of beliefs that are supported by other beliefs. And say, well, you have your truth and I have my truth. Well, that doesn't do anything for us. We want something more robust. We're aiming for something deeper than that. And no, we're not going to have all true beliefs, but we want to listen to this, write this down. We want to, I'm a convergence theorist of truth, okay? The convergence theory of truth suggests that as we gain, more evidence, warrant, or the like, we converge upon the truth and we know reality. I say better, more accurately wouldn't be another way. Okay, we converge on truth. We don't know all things about everything or about anything for that matter. Probably not, but we got it on video. The convergence theory of truth suggests that we are getting closer to reality as it is. Okay, because we can't know all things about everything or anything. You could study the same thing day in and day out, year after year, life after life, and yet still not know all things about it, but you can converge on the truth of something. Which leads us to the next theory of truth, which is the correspondence theory of truth. And the correspondence theory of truth suggests that a proposition is true if and only if it corresponds to the way the world really is. As Evie was trying to say, a fact, right? That it corresponds to the way the world really is.
So the full definition.
That's it.
Okay.
It's that simple. If God exists, the proposition God exists is true. If he does not, the proposition is false. It's not about the beliefs. Your beliefs should line up with reality. Your beliefs do not create reality. With the post-modernist view, you construct reality through language. There's a book called Ethics is Grammar, and I have it. And the guy suggests that we construct reality with language. Now, a lot of what the garbage that is going on in college campuses right now, in certain departments, that suggests, for example, that women have been oppressed by men, is because men oppress women and use language to do it. Right? It's mankind, not humankind, right? Or womankind. It's his story, not her story, right? You've heard this stuff, have you?
Yeah.
Maybe. Certain departments, they have whole departments like gender studies and ethnic studies and racial studies. It's all based on bad epistemology that we construct reality with language, and that's where you get, have you heard the term microaggressions? You've not? That we are assaulting people with language. Just by saying where are you from, there's an assumption of that you're an outsider, that you're an alien. I've assaulted you, called you, and I've alienated you somehow. Language, and they teach you that the oppressors, those old rich white men, right?
Oh,
Have constructed reality through language to oppress people, and that we need to change things drastically. Now, by the way, that's a whole epistemology that suggests truth is determined by language, that we construct reality through language. Do we? Is that true? Or do we describe reality with language? And we're either accurate or inaccurate.
I think it's fair to say that we describe reality.
You think it's fair to describe? So okay. And by the way, it's ironic because the constructionist is trying to describe reality as being constructed, right? In reality, we're constructed. Wait a minute, that's self-referentially defeating. Of course, they'll tell you, oh, we don't talk like that. Of course, you don't talk like that, because if you did, you'd realize you were wrong. Okay? The correspondence theory of truth says what? A proposition is true if and only if it corresponds to reality. I'm assaulting you if and only if I really am assaulting you, okay? Yeah.
But what is defining reality?
Well,
It could be like,
how things really are.
but like,
Is there a floor under you? Okay. Is the floor under you because you said it's under you? Or did you say it's under you because it's actually under you? There you go. So reality is discovered, not defined. Now, when I say not defined, what I mean is not created by your definition. We didn't create the floor. It's not gray because I said it's gray. And I could be wrong, it's multicolored. Okay? I say it because it's the color it is. And I could be wrong because I see red flecks in there even as I was saying that, right? That's why I changed what I was saying. Because my original statement was wrong. Make sense? Did that help?
yeah.
Okay, any other questions? Because this is where the rubber meets the road. This is where we fight over. You know, especially with politics right now. Donald Trump is a racist. Right? That's what you've been told. Is it true? Do you believe it to be true? Yes, you do.
Yes, I do.
Why?
Because of how he's offended multiple.
Because what?
How he offended multiple groups of people.
I offend you every day, don't I? I say something offensive. Can I say something offensive to you?
Yeah.
Probably I could.
Good.
That doesn't mean I don't. He's also hired a lot of black people. A lot of black people like him.
I mean,
He's offended a lot of white people too. Does that mean he doesn't like white people?
no, but
I mean, by a racist, but in philosophy, what we have to do is we have to define our terms, right? Would you agree with that? So we're all using what's called univocal language. Because you don't know the truth in a correspondence sense, or even in a coherent sense.
Is univocal language going to be on the test?
Yes. Univocal means to use the same definition for the same word. Gosh, I love how you asked, is this going to be on the test? Everything's on the test. It's all open.
What was the definition?
Oh, I can't remember. I'm just kidding. I'm making it up as I go along. I'm just kidding. I'm not. I have this. Univocal language is to use the same word with the same definition. When you and I speak to each other and we use our terms, that you know what the exact same meaning I refer to is. Okay? Now, some people have a really broad definition of racism, meaning everybody's a racist. The definition is so darn broad. There are some people, Joy Reid says all white people are racist. If you're white, you're a racist, period. Okay? And if that's true, you're not gonna win, okay? I couldn't win to save my life. And so of course, if all white people, just being white is racist, then Donald Trump is racist. Okay, I'll go with that. That'd be a true statement. All triangles are shaped. This is a triangle, therefore it's a shape, correct? All white people are racist. He's a white person, therefore he's a racist. Okay, there we go. Okay, but we're not talking synonymous with the color. By racist, are you suggesting that he does not like the whole group of people who are not white?
No.
Are you suggesting that he does not like black people?
No, I think.
Are you suggesting that he just doesn't like some black people?
Donald Trump likes black people when it's convenient for him, right? Whenever it makes him look good.
Is that true?
Yeah.
You've just made a statement that's either true or false. Now
Uh,
you believe that.
Have you seen?
No, that's a question. I asked the question. You
Okay,
answered it.
repeat your question, please.
I asked the questions.
Okay.
Because, you know, we gotta watch out for trying to make statements with questions.
Okay.
So when I'm asking you the questions, I'm really testing your beliefs. I'm not trying to make a statement with the questions. Oh yeah, well what about this? No,
Okay.
I've seen Donald Trump say a lot of things.
Okay.
In fact, because I watch all the State of the Unions, whether it be Barack Obama, Bill Clinton, you know, whether it was George Bush Sr., George Bush Jr., Ronald Reagan, I watched it all. I like that stuff. And I listen to it in context. I listen to their whole statements. I don't listen to what the news tells me to watch. Oh yeah? Well, watch this out of context piece. That's a bad practice, okay? Okay.
Okay.
So, when you say he likes it, and I say, is that true, when it makes him look good? Well, that might be true. You wear clothes to make you look good, right? Is that a morally bad thing to do?
I love this hoodie.
What?
I love this hoodie.
Because it looks good, right?
Right.
That's right. So you only wear it because it makes you look good.
Right.
That's right. So there's nothing wrong with that, is there?
No, of course not.
So when you hire people for a job,
Mhm.
you want that job, especially in the presidency, and you're trying to get reelected, you need to look good.
Yes.
So is there something weird that any other president, you're not saying something that no other president's done before,
No,
right?
of course not.
Okay, George Bush had a lot of women, had a lot of black people,
As he
Uh,
should.
as he should, well,
As he should.
well, he should really just hire
Someone who's going to do the job correctly.
that's correct, and if they happen to be white, black,
Yes,
yellow,
it
brown,
shouldn't matter, right?
female,
But-
whatever, okay, that's fine. So the question here is it true that he just did it for his, like, there's something immoral that he did? Like he's going, I hate black people, you know what, I'm gonna use you as a puppet. Do you know he did that?
Of course not.
But you
I don't know,
just
of course
said
not.
he did. You just said it's true though, right?
You know those people that are like, oh, I can say that, I have black friends. That's how I see Donald Trump.
Well, if he does have black friends, it shows that he likes people that are black.
When
Would you
it's
agree?
convenient for him.
If they're his friends, if they're real friends, no, if it's just out of convenience, then they're not his
Yeah.
real friends, and he's using them.
And I don't know Mr. Trump's.
You don't know his heart, do you?
I don't.
You don't. And, you know, Herschel Walker, you know who Herschel Walker is?
I do not.
Oh.
Heisman Trophy winner. Donald Trump owned a football team. There used to be another football team that competed with the NFL called the USFL. Donald Trump was one of the team owners, and it was the Washington Generals. Herschel Walker played for that team. Donald Trump owned that team, okay? And Donald Trump and him became friends. They've known each other for 30 years. Did you watch the Republican National Convention?
Did not watch
RNC,
that.
you should have. It was great. It was outstanding, and there were several of Donald Trump's friends who spoke out for him. Several of them being women and black, and they discussed their friendship with Donald Trump, their real friendship, not a matter of convenience, but a friendship. Okay. Now I'm not defending like, hey, let's go vote for Donald Trump. What I'm trying to ask is it true he's a racist? By racist, have we come up with even a definition yet? Give me a definition of racism. Can I give you a definition of racism? Because it's thrown out there so much. You're a racist, right? That's horrible. That's horrible to call anybody. I'm surprised people aren't fighting this. You call a white guy a racist should be the same thing as calling a black person another word, right? I mean, that's the worst thing you can call a person, right? I mean, I'm surprised dudes aren't like, call me a racist, I'm gonna bust your face. But I'm thankful they're not, because that's great. That's showing But I tell you, by racist, let me give you this definition. Let's just, and others will disagree with me. I'm just gonna give you a definition. We could say, is Donald Trump that? He does not like people of other races other than the white race. Is that a good definition of racist? No. Okay, you give me a better definition of racist. He doesn't like black people.
No.
He doesn't like Hispanic people.
No, I wouldn't say that. I think, I don't know.
He's insensitive. He doesn't follow how people think he should talk.
Even though he doesn't.
Of course he doesn't. No, he's like,
I wouldn't put that
I tell you what, that's one thing. Nobody, I'm offended when people say I'm offended by the way you talk. I said, well, I'm offended that you're offended by the way I talk. And I take offense. It's so offensive to be offended by everything, isn't it? Let's not be offended by anything. Are you offended by anything?
Isn't that contradicting yourself?
Huh?
Isn't that contradicting yourself?
Possibly. I'm offended by all this offense, yeah. I saw this great comedian talking about this. I'm offended by boy bands. You know, guys using music to prop up their modeling and careers. So you don't even have a definition of racism.
Not really.
It's kind of hard, isn't it? Because people define it so differently. Some people draw. I was very specific. He doesn't like black people. Would that be an instance of racism, a type of racism? You'd be a racist if you said I don't like black. One would be. But he hadn't done that, has he?
He hasn't said that.
No. And he does have black friends, right?
He does.
And he says he's trying to work to raise the employment of the black race. Would you agree with that?
He said that.
Would you agree that the employment has been at record levels for the black race since he's been the president? That's an actual fact. That is a fact.
I wouldn't know.
Yeah, you might be watching different news, okay? But if you look at the employment statistics, okay?
Could you say racism is discrimination based upon the color of someone's skin?
Yeah, that would be a way you rate, but the point I'm trying to make is, why would you discriminate? You discriminate because you don't like them.
Correct.
Because you're a racist.
Could you discriminate in a good way?
Yeah, absolutely. I discriminated against a pair of pants today. One pair was dirty, this one was clean. This one just so happens to have a hole in the knee. I just discriminated against it the other day, okay? Is that bad discrimination?
Don't think so.
No. I discriminate in the NBA, right? Remember I told you the story about the NBA, how they discriminated against me? Because I'm not that good because I suck at basketball. Not because I'm colored, but because we discriminate all the time. What we want is, remember how we talked about justice? Just treating equally and unequals unequally. I'm unequal in the NBA, I'm not that good, so they treat me differently. They treat us unequally. They allow the good players to play and they separate the sucky players from the good ones, and we watch the good players play. That's the nature of that. That discrimination by itself is not bad. We do it more often than not. It's the specific discriminations based on certain things, like the discrimination, I don't like hiring women because whatever, right? Well, that could be discrimination, right? Men get discriminated against all the time. How many waiters do you see at Hooters? None.
Well, men should get bigger boobs.
That's right. Well,
Dang,
look,
I guess I should.
with the
We get paid a
marvels
lot
of modern science, they can. Okay, but I'm afraid they're not going to sell many. People are probably not going to come see it.
Yeah.
Okay, the business model just doesn't work. But we're talking about racism here. So if you're saying I'm not going to hire somebody because they're black, because I don't like them, or because I think I'm better than them, I think that's a pretty good. Or like Adolf Hitler believed that the white race was the master race. That's racism. Would you agree?
Yes.
And thus all other races are inferior. Would you agree with that? Now, I mean, look at what Eddie Murphy said about sports. If we got rid of black people, what sports would be left? Hockey.
Soccer.
Well, it was a joke. He said hockey. That's what he said. Is that a racist statement? It's certainly funny.
It's funny.
Now, I laughed my butt off when he said it in 1983. If a white guy said something like that, we'd go, dude, that's pretty racist, okay? But, you know, is it racist? Kind of, maybe. Does Eddie Murphy hate white people? I don't know if he does. I don't know.
I wouldn't think so.
Have you seen the skit where he turns white though?
Yes, Mr. White.
Yeah.
Saturday. Yes, I have. And I think you should all look at that on YouTube. Eddie Murphy, Mr. White, you know, Saturday Night Live, one of the funniest skits you'll ever watch. And he makes fun of white people. He had to squeeze his butt cheeks together really tightly and read a bunch of Hallmark cards to sound white, you know. This is to sound white. I had to read a bunch of Hallmark cards. And, you know, well, okay, so it's hard to, okay, look at it. So now, here's the point. If you call somebody a racist and you can't define it, well, then how do you know you're right?
By what they say.
They say, who are they?
Like, just people in general.
Who are they? In general, no, look, it depends on who you listen to. You gotta watch for who you listen. The sound of one hand clapping. You see what I'm saying? Did you determine he was a racist, or did somebody else determine for you?
I determined.
On what grounds?
Well,
Did you ever hear him say, I don't like black people?
no, but previously, I did hear someone else say it, so I did my own research.
Somebody else said they don't like black people.
No, someone else said that Donald Trump was.
Who was this person?
Like one of my family members.
Okay, yeah, that's true. I suppose you probably have a lot of family members who don't like Donald Trump, right? And they're gonna tell you all this stuff. Is it possible they're wrong?
It could be.
Good, that's the beginning. Now, I'm not saying he may be a total racist. I don't believe he is, personally, from what I've seen. I think he's an interesting character. I used to not like him at all. But I found he's a little deeper than I thought he was at one time. Keep going.
But then I did my own research and just looked at little things he would just say.
Like what?
Like, for an example, when this coronavirus started, he called it the Kung Flu.
Yeah, that's funny. I find it funny. Why did he call it the Kung Flu?
He said the Chinese virus too.
Yeah, he did. But it was funny to say, look, I don't, and I this is on video. Somebody could give me the thumbs down on this video for this, but I thought, you know, he's not afraid to tell a joke. Okay? Now, I'm gonna tell you something. You've laughed at some funny jokes that probably made fun of other races, even your own, right? Okay. Does that make you a racist?
I don't think it does.
No, you're right. So, I mean, come on, let's give one person a little grace here. But let's go back to the Kung Flu. Where did the virus come from? China. Came from China. China's a country, right? Is China a race? No, okay, keep going. So what else helped you determine he was a racist?
How he would talk to, other people when he called athletes, SOBs, and most of them
What is an SOB?
sons of visions.
Yeah, but what does it have to do with race?
Because most of them were black people, and a lot of black
That's
people.
statistics, that's not, so, we just made a joke about that. Why are most black people, why are most athletes black? Because white people are not that good at it. No offense to white people, okay, I'm sorry. There's a movie made called White Men Can't Jump. Do you remember hearing about that movie? It was a famous movie in the 80s, White Men Can't Jump. Is that racist? Maybe, but it's also
I don't think so.
fairly true. I can't jump. I'm a good example of that. Okay, so just because athletes are traditionally in America, black people are superior athletes to white people, right?
True.
And he calls these guys, it didn't necessarily have anything to do with race, did it?
Well, this one I was kind of confused on, but by how my family members were explaining it, a lot of black people are called a lot of like names and
By whom?
just like other races. And so
You hear other people calling black people this? When?
like just like in general.
Here's the thing we're trying to get at on the conversation here. Truth. Okay? Your justification for truth is testimony, reason, right? Empirical verification through the 5 senses. Okay? It's not that what you're hearing because of, testimony is a great source of justification for truth, okay? I'm just asking the question, does it correspond to reality that Donald Trump literally does not, if he saw you, he'd say, I don't like you because you're black.
I'm not saying he would. I'm just saying.
I mean, I wanna know what's in his heart, don't you?
Right.
And you
I-
believe that that's what's in his heart.
I just think like.
You do believe that. And you believe it based on testimony so far. And that's okay, I believe Jesus Christ rose from the dead based on testimony. I didn't see it. Okay, so this isn't to bash testimony, but I'm challenging the belief. I want us to be a bit skeptical about things we hear. Okay? We need a dose of healthy skepticism, especially in a time of what? Political division in our country. Okay, because my yard signs keep getting kicked in. Okay, people are literally vandalizing my home. Okay, why? Because of my political views. Is that fair? Whatever, it shows how mad people are. Should we be that mad right now? Shows that we have a belief that something corresponds to reality, that you really do believe really strongly that this guy hates you, right? He doesn't. I promise that I believe that he doesn't hate you. I promise I don't know his heart either, and I promise that you don't. But I don't believe he does, okay? I don't believe he hates people like that. I believe he wants this country to be, he's a winner, and he's a real so he wants you to go up so he can claim victory, because it makes him,
Okay.
yeah, we'll look good, right? I think he wants you to win so that he can,
Look good.
that's my view. I think that's coherent, right? I don't think there's anything morally wrong with him wanting you to do well so that he can,
Look good.
that's pretty good, I got this down, it's like, but we don't know if it corresponds to reality, that's the whole thing. Now, if Trump actually is a racist, that means something, whatever you think it means, what that definition is, if he really is that, then he really is then the proposition is true in a correspondent sense. So that's what we're getting at. And we get really and you're gonna vote, right? And you're gonna vote against him.
I don't know yet.
You don't know yet? Maybe I'll convince you later. I'm just kidding. That's not what this class is about. It's about the truth though. Because knowledge requires truth. And if it's just truth in a coherent sense, well, then it's just you believe this set of beliefs and you believe this set of beliefs and you have two different truths. That's not really what we want, right, Evie? We want something more robust. And then we go to the voting booth and we vote on what we believe corresponds to reality and how the world really should be, or at least how our country really, in a corresponding sense, should be governed. That's where philosophy becomes very important, right? And whenever you make a statement, it is true that A is this. Then you want to live that way, right? We don't know one thing and live otherwise. We don't live like 2 + 2 is 4 and then start handing out $10 bills saying this is what 2 + 2 equals, right? Do we? Not unless we're really good tippers. So we want to live according to reality. And by that, I mean in a correspondent sense, that a statement is either true or false if it corresponds to reality. Donald Trump is a racist, whatever. We never came up with a definition. That's our biggest problem. Donald Trump is a racist if and only if it corresponds to the way the world really is. That is, that he is that, whatever we mean by that word. Okay? Any other true statement we can make that's semi-controversial and fun? Doesn't have to be about Trump. Coronavirus. We have to wear these masks, right? Is there a true statement that these masks don't work? People have said these masks make no difference. Now that's a statement that's either true or false, correct? Now some people believe that the masks help, right? Some people think the masks don't help. They don't make a bit of difference other than make us hot. So, in a correspondence sense, one of these is right and one is wrong. Would you agree? In a coherence sense, we could both be right. Did you know I'm not allowed to wear that mask? Because of the side hole. Yeah, because the mask is supposed to not protect me, it's supposed to protect you. And if air's coming out, if we got a little...
Actually, no air comes out.
It probably doesn't work, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you're telling me it's worthless?
Yeah, because I've had to wear this for a long time before.
And you can tell me, yeah, it's
And
just...
I can tell you no air comes out of
It's
here.
just a fashion statement.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know. But technically, okay? In theory, yeah, because I'm supposed to be protecting you and you and you from me, and you're protecting me from you, and, right? Are we out of time?
Nope.
20 minutes.
Oh, good, thanks. I heard Zipper, you were supposed to go already, weren't you? Thank you. What a great, great conversation. All right, so does it correspond to reality? Okay, that's what we want. Now, why do I believe the correspondence theory of reality is the way to go? Because it corresponds to reality. Because I could have a set of corresponding beliefs, and plenty of people have when they take angel dust, who believe they could fly, right? And then they step off a building and reality smacks them in the face, right? They didn't construct reality with their beliefs. In fact, reality constructed or deconstructed them, you know, as a philosophical pun there, deconstructionism, once they stepped off that building. We cannot defy the laws of reality based on our beliefs. Our beliefs are governed by reality. And in fact, that's why we have similar beliefs to one another. It's because they're beliefs about something. Our beliefs are about the world around us. Okay? So that's the second type of belief. Of truth. Okay? That's the correspondence theory truth. Do y'all understand that? Okay. The third one is interesting. It's the pragmatic theory of truth. If it works, it's true. If it gets the results I want, it's true. Does that sound pretty bad?
Yes,
Why, Evie?
because depending on what your desired result is, anything can be true, if you can make it that way.
Well, if it gets what I want.
Yeah.
Tell my kids we're out of candy if it keeps their hands out of the candy jar.
Yeah, well, most things, if somebody wants something. they
What do we
want it
call
back.
that?
What?
Call that a lie, right?
A lie?
Lie. But okay, go ahead, keep going. What if we tell the noble lie that, you know, we in fact, Trump is being criticized now, going back to Trump, for telling a lie that the coronavirus isn't that bad, and his reasoning was, I didn't want the population to panic. Okay, so it was true because it got what he wanted. The population didn't panic that much. We could have all freaked out thinking, oh, we're all gonna die, you know, and all sorts of crazy, you know, world goes ablaze and all that stuff, right? Is that good or bad? Evil or not? I don't know. This use of the noble lie.
Like what you said Trump did?
I made use of Trump, but yeah, it's like if you get the population to do what you want, and so, you know, the ends justified means you told them what they needed to hear, right?
Good
So-
intentions, terrible results.
What if it's bad intentions though?
But it probably kept him like sane too, because, you know, him being president has to do with a lot of our issues already. So maybe if we didn't panic about it,
Of course, you know, I hope it helps them, I mean, but if it helps them in the right way, I
Yeah.
suppose, like, I mean, if we really don't panic, we really don't burn the joint down, right?
Then people really stop wearing masks and actually gets.
Oh, well, then if he's, well,
And then-
again, well, then we have to ask the question, are masks, again, really,
This is true.
remember, it goes, there's a whole set of truth claims out there, right? About this whole coronavirus. Did it come from a bat? Remember that one? It came from a bat, somebody ate a bat and then all of a sudden they started spreading it. And then all of a sudden they go, no, is it the Chinese had a viral, place in Wuhan that studies virology. And so, it comes from there. I don't know what the truth is, what corresponds to reality. I know what people tell me. Okay? But again, in the pragmatic sense is, when they say something is true from a pragmatic sense, is it gets the job done. Now, is that always a bad thing? Now, the way I've just presented it, it sounds kind of bad, doesn't it? Because it sounds kind of manipulative.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want a doctor, if I got cancer, to say, oh, it's not that bad. You know, because he knows that people with a positive outlook on life have a longer life expectancy with cancer. I don't care. You know, look, you know, some people want to die with dignity, right? Not me. I want to die undignified. I want to panic, I want to cry, you know, all the, you know, George Costanza, right? Everybody dies with dignity. Why do I have to do that? Do you know who George Costanza is? Watch Seinfeld. Television show Seinfeld's funny. Well, anyway, you want the truth, don't you? But now let me give you the positive side of the pragmatic theory of truth, because that I gave you a real cynical version of it. Would you agree? Yeah. In science uses this, okay? And I gave the other day an example of the sun rising and setting, right? And the Earth being the center of the solar system. How many of you actually watched the video again? Like on Tuesday.
Oh, yeah.
You watched it. You caught the part where I was talking about the stars and, you know, Earth being the center of the universe?
Yeah.
Yeah, you remember that? So from a scientific standpoint, there was a time when we believed, or people believed, that Earth was the center of the solar system, that the sun revolved around the Earth, that the planets revolved around the Earth. And they developed mathematical equations. And what they did was they were able to sail the seas with the assumption that Earth was the center of the solar system, and they mapped the stars and they could follow them and go from point A to point B accurately and safely based on this. And to say the sun revolved around the Earth was true because it worked to get them from point A to point B, right, over the seas. It was also true in the sense that it allowed predictability of where the stars were. They developed mathematical equations that helped determine that the star will be here, that would be, let's say Mars, will be here at this point, over here at this point, and over there at that point. We were talking about the retrograde motions of Mars. And it would have been true because it worked. Okay? Does that make sense? Now, there's nothing nefarious about that. It worked for predictability and practicality, just to get from point A to point B on the city. So they would have called it true from a pragmatic. Now, what does that do to science? Does that go, well, science apparently is not concerned about truth in a robust sense, right? That's not true either to say that, because that's why they shifted from the, what they call the geocentric model of the solar system to the heliocentric version, which is the sun-centered, because they believe that to be more accurate to the way the world really is, right? So they went from a pragmatic approach, which they actually did believe that the Earth was the center, but they moved to a helio, and they converged on this truth. Make sense? They gave up one belief for the belief of something else because they believed it more accurate to the way the world really is, even though pragmatically speaking, they still use those mathematical equations to sail the seas and to determine the retrograde motions of the stars. Does that make sense, Evie? You following me? Drew? Anybody got any questions on that? There's no test question on the heliocentric model of the solar system. That's not that, but that's just an example of, you know, using the pragmatic theory of truth.
What is the pragmatic theory of truth again?
Well, I mean, it says it gets the job done. In other words, it gets us what we want. It's true if it works. It's that simple, but it's not that simple when you go, well, it's true that the Earth is the geocentric, model because it gets us the predictability of the retrograde motions of Mars. We wouldn't say it's true in the correspondence sense. I mean, at one point they believed it to be that, but now they don't. Okay. But I was just trying to show that it's useful. It's not so nefarious. I gave the kind of the useful, what we call the noble lie, where we get the masses to believe what we want them to believe so that we could get the whatever done, okay, which is very Machiavellian, okay? Tell them what they want to hear, go ahead.
So with the pragmatic theory, is there an example of something that works, but that's not always true?
That's not also true?
Yeah.
Well, we also hope to think that the coherence theory of truth works as well.
Mm-hmm.
Not the coherence, the correspondence theory of truth, right?
Yeah.
We can predict gravity because it corresponds to reality for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and it is obviously pragmatic. But the point is that with pragmatic theory of truth, it need not, and we need not even know that it corresponds to reality. All we need to know is that it works. Okay? And again, we could use that as, we just call that a lie sometimes, if we know it's a lie, if we know we're telling it something that doesn't conform to reality, right? But sometimes we don't, right?
Cause I know that a lie detector works, but I don't think it detects lies accurately.
Well, what lie detectors detect are breathing,
Yeah.
respiration, heart rate, stuff like that. Maybe they have some that are a little more advanced that may be able to discuss brain waves or something. For example, I've taken a polygraph before.
Cause I'm isn't there a specific interval that oh yeah, that person's heart rate is like this, that person's breathing.
Well, that's the point. So what it detects is respiratory and heart rate, and what they do is by association, empirically, they know that when people lie, their respiration and their heart rate changes. And so what they score it, now obviously, people's heart rate changes all the time. That doesn't mean they're always in a state of lying, but it's association. So they've got evidence, it's indirect evidence. Like I watched a video on how to detect if people are lying to you. They do certain things like cross their arms and legs, and they do all sorts of weird stuff. And they do little tells, and it need not mean they're lying.
Yeah.
They're just crossing their arms or whatever. Maybe they're cold. But they suggest that these things happen, they're associated with it, okay? So whenever somebody lies, and not all the time, like out of thousands of times, 800 of these people, I'm making up a number, when they lied, they told an untruth, we noticed their respiration went up and their heart rate. Even though it's maybe not perceptible to us, it was the machine could perceive it, right? And then they asked the people at the end, so did you lie on this, did you lie on that? And then, it's just, that's how they tested it perhaps. And then finally, and that's why this stuff isn't necessarily admissible in court. Because a heartbeat is not a lie. A lie is a lie, Detecting the lies, but I think they're accurate. I think they're pretty accurate. Well, I'll tell you what, I think they may be, I remember when I took it, I was like, they started asking me about who stole the money. No, I know I didn't steal the money. But oh my God, if I'm like, what's your name? Well, that's an easy one. But they ask you so is it not true your name is Shannon Holzer? It's true that my name is Shannon Holzer. Is your name, do you work for Biola University? Yes, I do. Are you a campus safety officer for Biola University? Yes, I am. Were you aware that there was an amount of money? And they ask you those simple questions and they get there, and then all of a sudden as they start zeroing in, the pressure's in, you're sweating, and the, you know. I'm like, I feel like I'm lying. Telling the truth that I feel like I'm lying. So yeah, it's kind of weird. I didn't steal the money. They did catch the guy who did. I wonder if, I don't even know if he actually took the polygraph though. Okay, so we have those three. Does that help? Those are our three theories of truth. It's that simple. Which one do you hold to, and why? You like the correspondence theory of truth. I mean, there's no use in arguing about anything if there's no such thing as the correspondence theory of truth, right, Evie?
Right.
I'm convinced her on that. How about you? What do you think?
I think the same.
We all like the correspondence theory because we like to be right. You can't be right. I mean, you can be right in your own mind, I guess, if it's all coherence. What do you think?
What's the question?
You have the three theories of truth. Which one do you seem to gravitate towards?
Probably convergence.
Well, the convergence theory of truth has to do with correspondence theory of truth, that we're converging upon reality as it is. So here, let's go, here's a quick one, like a little joke, you know, it's kind of like the math teacher saying 2 + 2 is 4, and you go, well, that's just what you believe, right? That's your truth. You'd never do that, would you? That's how ridiculous I think these other beliefs are about truth, okay? Because we are talking, because 2 + 2 is in a reality, you know, corresponding way. Any questions about this? What book are you supposed to be reading at this point? Rhymes with Eno. Meno. So do you have an assignment for this?
Yes.
All right. Did you guys get anything out of this today?
Yes.
If I asked you what the three theories of truth are, would you know them?
Yes.
Yes. Would you know why they're important?
Maybe.
One of them.
We had a long discussion in the middle of this class that seemed to be a tangent, right, over racism. Which one of these three theories is most important to that discussion?
Correspondence.
Yeah, because coherence is just your opinion versus your opinion. Correspondence is where the meat lies. There's no reason to debate if we all have our own truths. The debate is over. You can't win or lose, right? So, no need to change if there's no correspondence. All right, if I have no questions, and I think we are sufficiently beating this horse.
Wait, what horse?
You don't want to kick it down.